And the critique I just gave earlier, Matthew, you missed the point, and of course, you're probably just whistling past the point. My point was about your argument. At this point in the conversation, you are arguing you can't tell. In other words, you can't discern. In other words, you can't know. Your response to defend your position of a knowledge claim is to say you can't know. If you can't know, then you can't know your position is true.
Yeah,
You've undermined
I
your
see
own
what you're saying.
position.
Yeah, I guess I was trying to say that if it's arbitrary that you choose what counts as stationary, then you cannot distinguish and you cannot know because it was an arbitrary choice.
Exactly. But you're trying to ascribe the arbitrarity, the unjustified arbitrarity to all positions. But
Right.
it's not, that's not justified to accuse, to critique all positions as being unjustified, especially when the central empirical fact in dispute is the shape of the earth and what the earth is doing. We don't see the earth moving. We don't see the earth being a sphere or any kind of curved surface. Therefore, that position that says it is wrong. And the position that says it's not is true.
Wait, so you're saying it's not arbitrary? So you're disagreeing with all these physicists that Witsit just quoted?
The physics, you're missing the point with, or you're deliberately missing the point with what Whitsitt is quoting these people. These people who think, who profess, they're professors, they're doctorates, they think they know. They're the very learned people. The very learned people who profess heliocentrism, the ACP, as I call it, the academic cosmic paradigm, they think they know that to be true. And then in the next breath, they go ahead and tell us that they can't discern whether their position or geocentrism is true. So in the first breath, they say they know, and how dare you defy us? And in the next breath, they say you can't discern the difference.
Even furthermore, they actually say that the heliocentric model has many more problems that can't be explained.
So
I've
when they
never
say that,
explained.
they're undermining their
Why
own
do they say?
position. When they say these quotes, they undermine their own position. They're contradicting themselves. And Whitsitt is quoting these men to expose this self-contradictory, self-defeating quotes, to
So this
expose the arbitrarity, the unjustified arbitrarity of the ACP. Contrary to the empirical data, especially as it concerns the Earth is not rotating, the Earth is not moving, the Earth is not a sphere.
We know now that the difference between a heliocentric and a geocentric theory is one of motions only, and that such a difference has no physical significance. The Ptolemaic and Copernican views, when improved by adding terms involving the square and higher powers of the eccentricities of the planetary orbits, are physically equivalent to one another. Astronomer Fred Hoyle again coined the term Big Bang. None of these people are addressing the actual problem with dark matter and dark energy, Matthew, which is the point that I keep making to you, which is that heliocentrism is less viable, but we will get there in just a minute. And you have yet to address it because you can't.
because it makes no difference between the heliocentric and geocentric theory that Hoyle was talking about. It has nothing to do with dark matter.
That's incorrect, actually, and I'm about to go to Edwin Hubble and debunk you, but I'm not going to go out of order, so you can just be patient and hold on to your grasp of straws the best that you can. Okay. What happened when the experiment was done in 1887? That's Michelson-Morley. There was never in any orientation at any time of the year, any shift in the interference pattern. None. No shift, no fringe shifts, nothing. What's the implication? Here was an experiment that was done to measure the speed of the Earth's motion through the ether. This was an experiment that was done 10 times more sensitive than it needed to be. It could have detected speeds as low as 2 miles a second instead of the known 2 MPS that the Earth as in its orbital motion around the sun. It didn't detect it. What's the conclusion from the Michelson-Morley experiment? The implications is that the Earth is not moving. So again, it's not just arbitrary, whichever. No, the evidence shows that it's not moving. You have to reject it, turn your head to it due to a philosophical bias of atheism. I know this is tough for you to accept, but it's not my problem.
What do you think would happen if they did the Michelson-Morley experiment on one of the moons of Jupiter?
Well, they actually, if they went and did it on the moon, they could prove one way or the other, but they won't do that. Apparently, they went to the moon, but they won't carry out one of the most infamous experiments ever, which would prove one way or the other definitively. But they'll never do that. For one, of course, they can't go to the moon, and for two, it would debunk them definitively. So why would they not do that? They could finally prove that the Earth is moving by going and doing the test on Earth's moon.
Okay, so speculation, obviously, but what would be your speculation if they did go to the moon and did the experiment up there? What do you think they would find? That there would be motion?
They would find that the Earth is not moving. You can't go to the moon.
No, I'm talking about the if they did the experiment on the moon, whatever it is.
What do you mean? They would find that the Earth's not moving. They would find a difference in the patterns based on the.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Yeah, would there be a difference? Because my speculation would be if they did the experiment on the moon, they would have the same exact results and find that the moon is not moving also.
Well, that's what you would have to find. And if you could really go to the moon and you really wanted to prove it, you would go to it on the moon, but they'll never do it. And in fact, I watched an interview with an infamous physicist who pointed that out and said, and of course he believed in the moon landing, so he's pretty far behind. But he's like, yeah, but we all know they'll never actually try to do that. They'd rather just whistle in the dark and then mock the other side. And that's the current paradigm of quote unquote science.
Well, yeah, so many people believe that they wouldn't find anything useful, that they're not going to spend the money to do it on the moon.
Actually, they've been claiming that they want to go back for a long time. They just came out, so they had to push it back because they can't get the suits right. So, and it has one of the most valuable elements in the world in abundance, according to your paradigm. But I'm not going down your divergence. So this is another infamous physicist of the modern era. Michelson and Morley found shifts in the interference fringes, but they were very much smaller than the size of the effect expected from the known orbital motion of the Earth. Physicist John D. Norton. This is a quote that everyone should say for sure because the Globers love to say that Michelson and Morley detected nothing. That is not correct. They did detect shifts in the interference fringes, but they were far too small for the Earth to be in orbital motion.
So they were within the margin of error or not?
No, not within the margin of error. You guys say that, but no, it's not a margin of error.
Do you practice your sophistry?
No, I think Whitsitt is just naturally good at it.
I'm talking about you, Matthew.
Oh, you're asking me? No, I haven't been practicing sophistry. I'm just telling the truth.
Yeah, Whitsitt isn't using sophistry, so do not try to project onto him your own bad behavior.
Sorry, I had to reconnect my.
Projecting his sophistry is him using sophistry again.
Touche.
That is correct.
All right. I guess we'll continue. Sorry, I didn't really hear all that, but maybe it was meant to be. Okay. All this evidence that the universe looks the same whichever direction we look might seem to suggest there's something special about our place in the universe. In particular, it might seem that if we observe all other galaxies to be moving away from us, then we must be at the center of the universe. There is, however, an alternative explanation. The universe might look the same in every direction as seen from any other galaxy too. This is, as we have seen, was Friedman's second assumption. We have no scientific evidence for or against this assumption. We believe it only on grounds of modesty. It would be the most remarkable if the universe looked the same in every direction around us, but not around other points in the universe. Physicist Stephen Hawking.
Yeah, and I'm being a theist. I'm open to the idea that we do live in a special point in the universe that looks, it looks like we're at the center because we are in the center, and I'm okay with that.
But we're getting you over there. You're gonna wake up one day, Matthew.
Oh no, I fully woke up. I understand God's creation pretty well, I think.
No, you don't. Kai thinks that you're a closet flat earther.
Well, I heard that you've been to multiple flat Earth meetings.
Oh, she's here.
Oh yeah, I went last Saturday before last. I mean.
And I think that's great. I just feel like most Globers probably wouldn't go to multiple flat Earth meetups and be peaceful, you know.
That's probably
Yeah, your laugh is psychotic, just like your behavior.
I do think that most flat earthers are sort of on a ticking timeline of how long they'll be able to maintain that belief. Because most flat earthers I've met have not believed it for more than 10 years. And so I think there is kind of like an expiration point at which point you'll wake up and realize, this doesn't work. So we'll see.
Ooh, 10 years. What a peculiar number to choose.
Do you know anybody? How many people do you know that have believed the Earth is flat?
When was flat Earth more popularized on the internet?
Oh, I don't know. Probably 2015. 16.
Yeah. So how many years ago was 2015?
7 years ago.
Not 10 or more.
Not 10 or more, right?
What a peculiar number to choose.
No, I mean, that's probably why most people who are flat earthers are flat earthers because of 2015.
No, we're flat earthers because you can't convince us to not be.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on a
expiration date
second.
will be
Didn't
right
you
now.
say a second ago, Matthew, did you say that you know of flat earthers that became flat earthers more than 10 years ago and since then have not been?
I was saying I don't know that many flat earthers who have believed the Earth is flat for more than 10 years.
Well, wouldn't the answer be none? Not many. Wouldn't the answer be none?
No, I mean, I know.
Well, there's some.
Yeah, I mean, I know some that have been flat Earth for 28 years and longer. So.
No. I mean him personally. Do you know of anyone that has known that the Earth is flat for more than 10 years, Matthew?
No, I don't.
Yeah. So what was the point of even
so
saying
then what
that?
you just said is totally meaningless.
No, that was the whole point. It's like, I don't know anybody who's believed it for more than 10 years.
We get your point. His point is that he thinks that once we reach the 10-year mark, all of a sudden, physical measurement of curvature will just pop out in abundance.
It was such.
I predict in the year 2035, those of us who are listening right here, who are still alive in the year 2035, that hardly any of you will still believe the Earth is flat.
Okay, well, that's a cool story, bro.
Yeah.
And just because you think nobody's thinks the Earth is flat for longer than 10 years doesn't mean there isn't. There's people that were born being told the truth.
Yep, they're still flat earthers. So your hypothesis, Matthew, is proven wrong.
Not to mention the vast majority of human history, of humans throughout all the history of the Earth, the majority of them were flat earthers.
Yeah, besides, it's so irrational because how in the hell is that going to work? It would mean that I would have to lose my memory at that moment and then be re-indoctrinated. That's the only possible solution because you would have to erase all of my experiences.
Well, not even that. People can suppress the knowledge of the truth and unrighteousness, so people can just
come up with a
refuse
better
the truth and choose the lie.
A better explanation why we don't see the curve?
So Matthew, do you think someone's going to eventually actually directly measure an arc segment of the curvature, which you admitted a week or so ago that no one ever has measured an arc segment of the globe Earth? So are you predicting that someone's going to actually do that, and then all of us flat earthers are going to be like, oh, okay, there's the curvature. Couldn't see it before. No one measured it before, but somebody finally did, and it's a ball after all. Is that what you're thinking is going to happen?
No, you're right. I don't think that anybody is going to directly measure the curvature of the Earth. I do suspect that you may come to realize that calculating it based on reason and logic might be good enough to convince you.
No, you need to calculate it based on curvature measurements, not your so-called reason and logic.
Yeah, all our physical measurements are the opposite. They show a flat Earth.
Yeah, please do not do logic and reason disservice by calling things logic and reasons which are not.
We just pointed out for the last hour you have no logical consistency whatsoever.
What's your latest quote?
Show me calculations that shows the Earth is a cube, but that doesn't mean I'm going to believe the calculations.
So my latest quote is, but when you look at the CMB map, which is the cosmic microwave background map, you also see that the structure that is observed is, in fact, in a weird way, correlated with the plane of the Earth around the sun. Is this Copernicus coming back to haunt us? That's crazy. We're looking out at the whole universe. that would say we are truly the center of the universe. Physicist Lawrence Krauss, who has won a Nobel Prize in physics.
For what? What did he do?
He proposed that the energy density of the universe was dominated by the energy of empty space. Blah blah blah. Supposedly, it was confirmed. I want to say 13 years later or something like that. 2011.
He's also famous for being a
Somebody-
very angry atheist.
He is a
Yeah.
very atheist, and that is why he is so staunchly opposed to the objectivity that the Earth is geocentric.
So, like many other award academies, a fraction of it is just self-congratulation without any real justification.
Correct. There's a reification of the model, and then they say, well, there has to be an energy to explain all this matter, and we can't understand how it works or what it is because we're not expanding near fast enough. We're off by 10 to the 120th power.
Yeah, here's a 13-minute clip, Matthew, you can watch on that exact pseudoscientist, where he brings a bunch of other experts on gravity to try to discuss what is gravity and how to try to solve the crisis in cosmology that you think are not a crisis.
Yeah.
Oh, I never said it's not a crisis. I admit it's a crisis in cosmology, but I think it's a crisis that's sort of like out there beyond our solar system.
No, you keep telling us how gravity works while mixing and matching Newton and Einstein, whereas the experts of your religion are saying that doesn't work. They need the new gravity because it doesn't function.
Yep. This is how this whole thing is going. This is
well,
disagree with
just
you.
Because somebody can't explain it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Doesn't mean it does exist either, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Because we don't have to explain whether or not it exists if the Earth's not a sphere, and the only reason that we need gravity is to explain omnidirectionality.
I mean, the difference between what you just said, Matthew, is there is something that exists first, but you don't know how to explain it, as opposed to something that does not exist, that is supposedly existing, and don't know how to explain it.
Like, nobody has to explain to me that unicorns are not real.
Or we don't know what it is, but we can explain what it does.
Yeah, but what
Okay,
is
yeah,
it? Yeah, but here, concepts bend in
I don't know.
So I'm really just a flat earther, Matthew, because globe proponents like yourself can't give me any good reason not to be. So my expiration date will be right here this very minute if you can change that.
Yeah, it's called education. I mean, it's a long process.
Yeah, that's just a word that you say. What is it that you're going to educate me on? Where's the curvature measurement that you're going to show me?
A physics class would be a good start.
No, you still
say the Earth could be geocentric. So
yeah, but what am I going to learn, Matthew? You said that you've learned that the Earth is a globe, presumably in a physics class, because that's what you just told me to do. So just tell me what it is you learned in physics class that I'm missing here, and I'll just go with you right now.
For one, there's a difference between acceleration and motion.
Okay, but does the Earth drop away from you? Is it curving?
In physics, you learn about vectors and
okay, so I'm not going to learn anything that's going to prove that the Earth is a ball.
Matthew, dude, I'm going to help you with damage control. I'm going to help you because that's really bad. He's asking you to tell him where is the curvature. How do you know the Earth is curving? And you're talking about acceleration, vectors, and motion.
Hey, can I ask you a closed-ended question? It's yes or no.
Okay.
Can something be accelerating if it's not in motion?
Yes.
What a loser.
Matthew's logic, just because we don't see unicorns doesn't mean they aren't real.
Is that what they're going to teach me in physics class, Matthew? Is that what I've been missing?
Yes.
Is that the logic and reason I've been missing? That's the education I've been missing out on. Just because unicorns can't be seen doesn't mean they aren't real.
Hey, if I sit an apple on a table,
whatever you say, Professor.
If I sit an apple on the table and it just sits there, is it accelerating?
No.
Can it be?
If the table suddenly disappeared, then it would start accelerating, and at the first moment it would be not in motion yet.
Oh my god, dude!
Well,
okay, you can't have an instantaneous shot of acceleration. It requires a differentiation in motion.
He used the same excuse in the lunchroom when his lunch fell on the ground, like, the table just disappeared instantly.
This is what I was trying to explain to you earlier, Matthew. Your conception is Newtonian here, whereas Einsteinian, that apple is constantly accelerating.
Maybe this is why you can't get a full-time position teaching, Matthew. Just saying.
It could be, yeah, because I'm too stupid to teach full time.
Well, good. I'm
Okay,
glad you
so wait,
recognize that.
how do you
No.
measure acceleration, Matthew?
It depends on what kind of force is causing it. If it's a spring, you could look at the displacement of the spring. If it's due to gravity, you could measure how much gravity there is.
That's not how you measure that.
You can measure gravity? Wow.
You can measure something.
Hey, what
that
about
exists.
a
Oh my god!
cannonball?
On the surface of the Earth, there's a constant downward acceleration. I don't think anybody disputes that, and it's easy to measure what that acceleration is.
Constant downward acceleration, is that because it's flat?
Okay,
Do helium balloons accelerate downward?
Acceleration.
Well, he says yes. They say when it goes up.
That's not true either.
So, but okay, first of all, it's not a constant anything. It's an agreed upon average once something goes down, and it has nothing to do with the Earth being a ball.
Okay, yeah, so we could argue about why it exists, but 9.8 meters per second squared is an acceleration that is observable for everything on the
That's
surface
incorrect. That's incorrect. It's an agreed upon average, but all the different elements fall at different rates, and actually not everything falls down.
You're talking about falling. I was talking about acceleration.
Yeah, I thought that was proposed by Flat Earth Society, that the Earth's a disk accelerating upwards. That's just bullshit.
That's not like. Wait, hold on. That's a massive straw man. All of our beliefs, though. Like we don't even need to defend any sort of flat Earth disk model because that's not our jobs.
Well, that's what he said. But look, here's the video of the elements right here that fall at different rates. So you're debunked. Also, it's nothing more than incoherent dielectric acceleration. So anyway.
Do you buy into that dielectric acceleration nonsense?
Do I buy into it? No. You can prove it. So all molecular and intermolecular attractive forces are electrostatic in nature. Electrostatics is 10 to the 39th power stronger than gravity even claims to be on the smallest scale. If you cannot eliminate the variable, you cannot claim that it isn't the causal agent. In fact, I can manipulate that independent variable of electrostatics with the Van de Graaff generator. By increasing electrostatics, things will go up and float, therefore proving that electrostatics will affect acceleration and directionality. I can prove mine. You claim there's something else there that's scalar that you just can't isolate or prove. So I actually adhere to science and empirical evidence, and what I just said is objective.
Can you send me a video about what you just mentioned?
Just think about what he just said there. Do you buy into this? Now think about how many things does Matthew buy into? Okay.
You said it's gravity causing a downward acceleration. I thought gravity was supposed to have formed the Earth into a ball, so I guess it's not gravity that's doing anything.
Wow.
Wait, Matthew, you just said you don't agree with any. You just said you don't agree with anything I said. Okay, if you use a Van de Graaff generator, you can make things float. Are you saying that isn't true?
That's static electricity. You're not going to make a steel bowling ball float, no matter how hard you try.
Actually, you could if you had enough, but electrostatics is very weak. So you're skating past the point because, yeah, of course it's electrostatics. That's what I said. That's what dielectricity is. So if I use a Van de Graaff generator, can I make things float?
Some things, sometimes, yes.
Okay. Is there anything that falls down to the Earth that isn't electrostatic?
A kilogram of copper.
Copper's electrostatic.
Because it will ground itself.
Copper's electrostatic.
You know, I
don't know.
Science, guys.
And I've witnessed anvils floating in Mercury.
It's okay. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Yeah, so you don't know, but you know that I'm wrong.
Based
on the sort of the copy pasta nature of like that screed you went on about electrostatics, I was like, oh, that can't be true. So yeah, I prejudged it based on your tone.
Yeah. So all molecular and intermolecular attractive forces are electrostatic in nature, which means every single piece of matter in existence is electrostatic. The Earth is electrostatic. If something falls down to the Earth, it is objectively electrostatic acceleration. We can actually prove that electrostatics affect acceleration and directionality by manipulating the variable, which is what science does. And when I manipulate the electrostatic variable, I can make things float.
Great. So now you don't have to you could make a jet without jet fuel. You could become.
Well, you would actually have to have a ton of electrostatics, actually, because it's very weak.
Yeah, so that's just not how, like, Matthew, that is possible to the extent, sure, but it's not very viable in, like, just modern era. So, like, saying that, oh, well, then why don't we do this? It's like, it's not a really plausible argument.
But what's so funny is, okay, so why don't you have anti-gravity vehicles then?
Because nobody knows how to shield gravity or turn it off.
Or to how to even manipulate it.
Yeah,
There's no gravity to manipulate, Matthew. That's the problem.
Exactly. So
well,
I can prove mine with scientific experimentation. You cannot.
Yeah, this is why I wanted you to watch the video I posted earlier, because Lawrence Krauss and the other guys were talking about anti-gravity and showcasing it using hot air balloons and submarines.
Matthew.
That would be interesting. I'll go watch it.
What supposedly causes space-time curvature?
Matter.
So matter just existing causes space and time to curve.
Which isn't true.
I think that's the story. Yeah, the more matter you have, the more it curves.
So no, that's not. So what leading theory now by these scientists or so-called scientists is essentially density and gravity. That's essentially it. That's what.
So it's just a story that requires.
At least they say it is.
It's a story that requires a reification fallacy, and whenever we ask you for an independent variable of gravity, you just change the quote-unquote mass of something, which is also intrinsically electrostatic. So every time you do that, you're supporting my point and giving me more evidence. Thank you. So we can move on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I understand we disagree about why things happen. Wouldn't you say that on average, that things fall about 9.8 meters per second, whether it's a bowling ball or a piece of plastic or copper or a rock or whatever?
Well, if I drop a magnet over top of a part of the Earth that has metallic composition, it'll drop much faster.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but yeah, so the agreed upon average of once things go down is decently accurate. Yeah. That's just an effect of downward acceleration. That doesn't even always happen. But when things go up, we assume it's going down also.
And so that acceleration is fairly constant, right?
No.
It's not constant.
What is fairly constant?
What is fairly constant?
If let's say you throw a baseball straight up in the air, the whole time after it leaves your hand, it's experiencing about the same acceleration.
But you're trying to argue for like a constancy. So either it is constant, unchanging, or it changes.
I'm saying it's constant, yeah.
But
so it doesn't change. So there is no change. You can't just get a little bit of change in between your fingers and just sprinkle it on the constancy. No.
Right. I'm saying it's constant. What do you? I don't know. What
but all the elements drop at different rates.
True.
All the elements drop at different rates.
Dropping is something different. Falling and dropping is something different.
Okay, they fall at different rates. They fall at different rates, buddy.
Can't engage in the argument. Well, falling.
What's the difference?
Falling and dropping are descriptions of motion. What's happening, and it's affected by air pressure.
I love that, Matthew, because falling is a description of motion now, and is falling not acceleration?
They're slightly different because air resistance has something to do with it.
Oh no!
Motion is not acceleration, Matthew. You're contradicting yourself.
Yeah. Matthew, we've tested that.
This is a tough day for you, bro.
Study on this.
Motion is a change.
Ultimately, the problem. Ultimately, the affliction of whatever people have done to get us to accept the logical inconsistency that is begging the question. Clearly, if that were fixed, you wouldn't have come to the many conclusions that you've come to when trying to have this discussion with us, Matthew.
Yeah, if I were educated differently, then maybe I wouldn't say it the same. Yeah.
Stop appealing to your stupid.
You and I were educated the same, man.
I had to educate you for the last hour, Matthew. I just had to educate you about electrostatics. You hand-wave dismissed it and then got intellectually eviscerated. We're talking about education. You should pay me. $Witsit gets it on Cash App.
Yeah, Matthew, we went through education, same as you. Difference is we also continue to educate ourselves on things like logic and reasoning, things that you do not have.
We also do experiments ourselves too. We don't just blatantly follow the scientists that or supposed scientists that blatantly contradict themselves like every single year upon every single theory. So
yeah, Salty Dog, describe one experiment you did.
One experiment, specific on what in what case? Like in any experiments?
Yes.
Well, I mean, sure, to test. I guess like back in like first grade, I did like science fair or whatever to test how weight affects the speed of a car or something like that. And we put weights on toy cars. So that's one experiment right there that I've done way back in the sandbox days. So
cool.
I did an experiment, Matthew. I took a balloon, I rubbed it on my hair, then I stuck it to the wall, and it didn't fall down.
And we usually have no problem giving people the truth for free here, but I agree. At this point,
like
Matthew, you owe Witsit something.
The problem